probably going to post Naruto in a thunderstorm later. It's taking me a longer time to get the piece ready, just because I actually want to do it right, and I'm trying to retcon it a little bit and trying to make it so that it's actually a hit what if. And then after that, I am doing Naruto in the thunderstorm, and then I'm gonna continue Naruto. What if Naruto had an end? It's just I'm probably gonna finish this up first, and then I'm gonna probably get 2 or 3 parts deep or into Dragon's Age, and after that I should be able to make Nen, or I'll pop in Nen every maybe once a week or 2 times a week, just to make sure I stay consistent on some type of content. So hopefully it's one video every other day at least, like just so that I can show myself I can be consistent. And then whenever I get better recording stuff and I can record more often and have better audio quality and stuff, hopefully it'll get better. But until then, enjoy the intro. Sasuke Sasuke was a hard voice to forget. Naruto had a certain amount of hatred towards this guy since leaving Konoha years ago, and nothing had changed that. Naruto would have been happy never seeing this guy again for as long as he lived, but there he was standing in front of him. The guy had a mask, but Naruto could still hear the arrogance in his voice and picture the smirk on his face. Of course, the guy was a Anbu. Just great. Why were Anbu even guarding the doors? Normally, it was a normal Jonin's job. Maybe things were more serious in Konoha than he had originally thought. Naruto was still stuck with what to say. He didn't want to say his name and the jerk remember him, and he certainly didn't want to give the Raven the satisfaction of telling him what he was doing and why he needed to talk to Tsunade. Oh, he really wished Neji and Hinata were there. Maybe he could quickly go back and give them and have them have them help him get through without giving a name. Naruto groaned. He was getting now. Here was this. He was getting nowhere. Now here was this. I'm here to report to her. As soon as the words left his mouth, Naruto wished he could snatch them back. The answer would lead to more questions when he didn't want to answer. And if he didn't answer, then no doubt would leave labeled a threat. Naruto snorted. Who was he kidding? He was labeled a threat even if he didn't answer the questions. Exactly. So let him in quickly, someone said, startling Naruto from his thoughts. He turned to find Neji and Hinata and had an insane urge to hug them. At that moment, they were his favorite people, and if they could get him away from Sasuke, can't if he doesn't give a name, the other Anbu said. And Naruto recognized Kiba's voice. 2 people he knew he'd rather not talk to. It was just getting better. The Hokage asked a person to escort him to her office. We planned on doing our job. She won't allow someone she didn't trust to be escorted here. Neji reasoned while looking at them. Why, I dare you to argue with me. Look, fine, Kiba said eventually, but only 'cause you're Neji. Sasuke didn't say anything, nor did he move. He seemed to be studying them, and Naruto felt like a million eyes were trained on him. He was groaning. Give me a second, my mouth is dry. Yeah, sorry if you hear me like start bumbling up words. It's because I get cotton mouth. So I had to go grab something to drink. My bad. Okay, I don't remember exactly where I'm at. Naruto felt like there were a million eyes trained on him. He was groaning, decently mad at Tsunade for leaving him behind. Sasuke, Kiba, a female voice said, and Naruto almost smiled when Tsunade and Jiraiya appeared. Perfect timing, like always. Too perfect timing. This man and Jiraiya are to be treated with respect, and you will allow them in without question. Is that understood? I know you have suspicions of newcomers, but no one could and Tim. Give me a second. Okay. But no one could imitate these two to save their lives. Excuse me, Naruto said defensively. Was she implying that he was an idiot or that he was just too complicated to be copied? Either way, he didn't like it. You'd find out right away if you were fake, Tsunade said with a chuckle. She'd been walking, but Sasuke still looked on guard. I'm sorry, I get dry mouth. Sasuke still looked on guard. I'm me, Sasuke. I told you I was leaving to fetch something and maybe set Konohamaru on the right track. I fetched the thing I wanted, him and Jiraiya, and talked to Konohamaru for a bit, and I'm done now, so I'll be going inside. Sasuke finally stepped back, but he didn't like he was sure about Tsunade. But he didn't look like he was sure about Tsunade at all. He'd always been too serious, so it didn't surprise Naruto. If the man had to let his guard down, Naruto would have attacked Naruto. Oh, I'm sorry. Naruto would have attacked Sasuke. Didn't relax when he had a job to do, ever. That sounded hella messed up, so I'm gonna restart from mine before. Okay. So it didn't surprise Naruto. If the man had let his guard down, Naruto would have attacked. Sasuke didn't relax when he had a job to do, ever. Okay, that sounded better. Alright, come on, Naruto, thank you. Hinata and Neji for escorting him. Me, said Tsunade, and began dragging the bond inside. You okay, kid? Jiraiya whispered once they were inside Tsunade's office. Naruto nodded slightly. Naruto nodded slightly and stared straight at Tsunade, so I wasn't able to ask Jiraiya before, but what are you two doing here? She got right to the point, making Naruto smile slightly. It slipped off his face a minute later. Sorry, got caught off again. Alright. She got right to the point, making Naruto smile slightly. It slipped off his face a minute later. We can't say can't say what's wrong just yet. Naruto began with a glance at Jiraiya, but we need permission to look around Konoha freely. Tsunade stared at them for a long moment before nodding. Only because it's the two of you and I trust you. I know you wouldn't come back without a serious reason. Naruto hugged Tsunade, something he hadn't done for years. Her eyes widened for a moment, but then she stared at the knowing smile with Jiraiya. She shared a knowing smile with Jiraiya. I'm sorry. I'll work on your request for permission, but for now you need somewhere to sleep. Tsunade looked out her window and smiled evilly. I believe the Hyugas could let you to stay for a while. Naruto shook his head. No way. We'll stay in a hotel. Tsunade smirked. No, that'd be expensive. I'm sure the Hyugas would love you. So, Naruto, I hope you enjoy your stay in Konoha. That was actually a 10-minute video. You know what? This is gonna be a combination of part 4 and part 5. Naruto looked at Neji and Hinata. The minute they came into view, he stopped walking and stood still stubbornly. But of course, the freakishly strong Hokage was able to get him to move. He was roughly shoved every foot or so until they all, him, Tsunade, and Jiraiya stood in front of the two cousins. They all purposely ignored Kiba and Sasuke, but Naruto could feel their eyes on them. Neji Hinata, it seems these two don't have a place to stay. They're lacking the money to stay in the hotel during their stay, so I was wondering if you could let them stay with you for a while. Tsunade smiled at this sweetly and shoved. Tsunade smiled sweetly and shoved Naruto towards them. He began grabbing, and every now and then they could hear him mutter something about Super Hokage, telling him what to do, and I'm staying somewhere else in Super Konoha. Naruto had made it obvious he didn't want to go, hoping that Neji and Hinata would disagree, but of course he couldn't expect him to disobey their Hokage. Yes, of course, Neji said, smirking as Naruto glared at him. We have more than enough space for the two of you. The pale-eyed boy turned to his cousin and they began discussing something while Naruto turned to Tsunade. Why are you doing this to me? He growled with half expecting her to say what innocently from the look on her face, but suddenly her expression softened. Payback for the work you're putting me through. She winked at him, then whispered the last part. There's something I need you to see. What do you want? What do you want? Oh, I'm sorry. Payback for all the work you're putting me through. She winked at him and whispered the last part. There's something I need you to see. What do you need me to see? Naruto questioned. Tsunade shook her head and put a hand on his back. You need to realize it yourself. It'll be pointless if I tell you now, but please do something for me. Pay attention to the people's reactions when they remember you. She shoved him forward again, and he caught himself as he would have hit Hinata and Neji. You forgot that if they remember who I am, Tsunade, Naruto yelled. He slapped a hand over his mouth, and when he realized Sasuke and Kiba were still there, staring holes into him. Of course they had heard him, and of course they would be trying to figure out who he is. Come on, let's go, Neji said, eventually saving Naruto. The blonde looked over at them gratefully, and he and Jiraiya followed them to their home. Memories flooded through Naruto's head as he remembered going there as a child. If he was honest, the Hyugas was his favorite place to go when he would meet up with his friends. The place was huge, peaceful, and calming. Plus, Neji was a good sparring partner. Naruto Neji said, breaking the bond from his thoughts, "You'll be staying in my room, Jiraiya. Your room is the one down there." The older man nodded his thanks and disappeared into his room. Leaving Naruto standing awkwardly by the two Higuras. "Well, I should go tell my father you'll be staying here," Hinata said. "No, I'll go." He left the room for the girl to object. The two remaining people stood across from each other, looking anywhere but at each other. Naruto glanced at the girl and saw a light blush spread across her face. He didn't know why, but he had an urge to confront her, discover her. "Thanks for letting us stay," he finally said. Hinata began sputtering that it was nothing before they were again in an awkward silence. Naruto managed to catch a glimpse of white at the door. Jiraiya had disappeared into two and suddenly felt like he was being watched. He sighed and rubbed his head. "Look, I don't..." Sorry, I got time off again. He sighed and rubbed his head. Look, I don't thank you. I didn't thank you before, but thank you for what you said earlier. You've been the only person outside my family to not call me a monster." He grabbed Hinata's hand and squeezed it appreciatively. Hinata's face didn't immediately go red as Naruto thought it might. It took a moment, but the pink did spread, but that wasn't really what he noticed. When he saw first was a huge smile that covered her face. It said so many things. Sorry. It said so many things, so many emotions. There was relief, thankfulness, happiness. Some he couldn't read, others obvious to him. Some emotions Hinata couldn't express. Hinata held no hate for him. Naruto felt emotional, something he wasn't used to. He laughed at the weirdness of it and then scratched his head, feeling silly for waiting. He smiled at the weirdness of it. No, I'm sorry. He laughed at the weirdness of it, and he scratched his head, feeling silly for wanting to cry. He wasn't a girl. Girls cry. Guys didn't really. "About time you said that," a voice said, startling both Hinata and Naruto. And turned to Neji. They turned and spotted Neji watching them from the corner and saw Jiraiya poke his head out the crack of the door too. The blonde chuckled at the shocked look. The shocked. He shook his head. Sorry, it was late. "Nosy people," Naruto muttered, but he couldn't complain. He liked nosy people. They were just fine. Thank you for watching my video. I'm hopefully going to get an outro here soon. If not, this is going to be like one of the first videos with an outro. Deuces.